And I'm headed to TP Miller's to gig. As you can see, everything is jammed in here. Tonight I've got two heads. I've got my Friedman small box and my silver Jubilee Marshall, and they're gonna have a fight to the death. Which is better, Slash's amp or Dave Friedman's masterpiece, the small box? I have a feeling it's gonna be a toss-up because they're both killer. But you know, the main thing is when you're playing live, it's how does it cut through the mix, you know, how does it sit? And last night in rehearsal, I used the silver, and I was able to use it with my Helix effects and to do all the channel switching from that box. And that made me realize I could use it tonight. So I thought, well, what the hell? Let's do it. So here it is. The fight. Friedman versus Marshall. Sunday after the gig for the Friedman and Silver Jubilee fight video. Actually, it's not much of a fight. They're pretty much a draw. Hate to break that to you. But let me kind of give you some of the differences that I noticed about this. This is the first time I've ever done them back-to-back at a show. And I think one of the things that happens at, on demos online is that they're done in a bedroom and you just can't tell really what's going to happen on stage. The Friedman I knew because I had actually played one before on stage, a small box 50 Wildwood edition. And I knew that it could cut, and it really cut hard through the mix. It's got a boost, kind of a voicing boost at about 900K, I would say, roughly. What I miss in it is this clarity at the top. There's that kind of grindy upper mid. I'd kind of, less prefer that. In fact, I've got the mids cut on this down to 4 and the treble at 6, sorry. So, and the presence is cranked pretty high. So it's got sort of really a mid-focus, and I kind of like a lot of top and a tight bottom. So I really like the tone of this amp, and it's really great in the mix, and I really loved it so far. And but I decided it was time to try the Marshall and see what happened, because I hadn't ever tried it live. So I took out the Jubilee, and we did them side by side, switching between sets, basically, the cables out. And this one's set on, presence at about, 7? Bass is about 8 or 9, mid straight up, treble at 6, output master at about 7, lead master at, 7. Output gain, though, is about 8.5. So, quite a bit of gain, but when you have these amps side by side on the rhythm channel, it's about the same. But what was different, and I'll show you down here, on my HXFX, let's see if I can get it right. I was using the compulsive drive for boost on both amps, exactly the same setting. And when I hit that for the Jubilee, what came out of that amp was so incredible, it was hard for me to fathom how this amp, which sounds like a great 800, all of a sudden turned into a monster. I mean, it's already a monster, okay? But this lead sound, just the sustain was infinite. The clarity was perfect. The tone was perfect. The top end was, crystal clear and bright. Everything that I loved came out of it. And it made me feel so confident, You know how that is when you're on stage. You got to be ultimately confident when you're playing some of this crazy lead stuff that some of these songs have, these shredder songs. So that was really impressive. So between the amps rhythm channels, kind of a toss-up. Just depends on what your voicing you like better. And you could probably hear the Friedman a little bit better on stage because of that bump in it. Clean channel, Friedman wins. But I would say that the Marshall actually has a really good clean sound. It's a little dark, but with a little EQ on the floorboard, we'd be just as good as probably as the Friedman. So, what an interesting combination of amps to play. I'd say that one other thing is that just inherently the 100 watts has a little more low-end girth than the 50, and but that's not necessary. Really, you want cut is what you want as a guitar player. So anyway, that's the fight, y'all. Hope you enjoyed that, and unfortunately there's not a clear winner, but I just wanted to let you know the differences between the two.